Welcome to Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Las Vegas. I'm Glenn Jones. I'm here with Brian Kibler.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the booth. You started the tournament off with a bang, undefeated.
Yep, I'm 4-0 so far.
Green-Black Oozes.
Yes.
It's a deck you championed at the Invitational just a few months ago, and then sort of like fell off after that. It did enjoy some brief success, especially on Moto. I know it was all over the place.
I was doing. People were doing very well on Magic Online with various versions of the deck. I actually played the deck in Grand Prix Atlantic City as well, where I finished in the top 32, I think. I went undefeated the first day there, and then had some rough matchups in day two. I came back to it early on in our Pro Tour testing, but ended up dismissing it because I was having difficulty with the aggressive red-green decks with Rancor. A lot of my creatures were less able to block, specifically Rancor and Gorkland Rampager, which I thought would be a very, very popular card. It turns out that Rampager hasn't been as popular as I thought it was going to be, so I'm much more happy with the deck's matchup against aggressive decks.
Okay, so the aggressive decks in this room, obviously, like Naya Blitz winning the GP is a pretty big one, and that's like all creatures with like giant growths that force their damage.
Right, and that deck doesn't really match up particularly well against either Ooze or Tracker.
Right.
They don't really have all that much removal. They tend to have maybe a few Searing Spears, and if you ever get Tracker online with a sizable body, they're just dead.
Okay. It's the same principle as what you liked about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the real power card in this deck is Even World Tracker. It's the reason the deck is so good against other creature strategies, because at some point in the game you just get to some sort of stalemate position, but you have a tracker and all their guys are dying.
Sure. So in addition to creating a mini Abyss via tracker, and even I guess to some extent like Garrett can do some work, you've also got these spells, Abrupt Decay and Tragic Slip, all great removal spells against Boros Reckoner. Right. Which seems to have pretty much just put Ultimate Price out of his misery.
Yeah, my old removal package was split between Ultimate Price and Tragic Slip, primarily because Restoration Angel is one of the most important creatures to kill then, as well as Hellrider. Now, the most important creature to kill is Boros Reckoner. So you want the card that kills Boros Reckoner the most reliably, and that's Abrupt Decay.
Rancor, obviously, in this deck actually can be somewhat like a removal spell. Let your guys get through, which is really...
Rancor can power up Ooze, so it can fight things faster as well, which is a big deal. It's also, again, against Boros Reckoner, Rancor means that you can actually trample over if you have a very large power creature, when otherwise you'd hit their Reckoner for all the damage and take an enormous amount to the face.
Obviously, like a Reckoner stalemating an Ooze is like pretty bad for you. So
if there's like a 7/7 Ooze versus a Reckoner, it's like, I don't really know what I want to do here. I can kill it, but it's painful.
Right. So moving to the sideboard, a lot of the cards from last time are still here. You have the Duresses and Appetite for Brains, Hand Disruption that's made Jund pretty good. Obviously, you don't have access to something like Slaughter Games or Rectos, but these spells are still about as effective and much more efficient.
Well, Duress is actually much better in this deck than it is in a lot of decks, because you're able to be aggressive and strip your opponent's removal with it and put them on like a serious clock. Between Strangroot Geist and Dreg Mangler and Rancor, you can put control decks on a very, very fast clock. And if you're able to take away their Azorius Charm or their Supreme Verdict, even if the Supreme Verdict doesn't even kill half your creatures most of the time, you can put them in a really bad spot.
Sure. Obviously, when your creatures are so resilient, just being able to get the specific answer they have versus like a blanket thing like Slaughter is very different. You also still have the Triumph of Ferocities, which work a lot of game in the control matchups.
Triumph is great. I played a game online against the Bant Control deck, and you'd think that the Bant Control deck with like Centaur Healer and Thrag Tusk, would be able to present creatures that would blank Triumph of Ferocity. But when you have things like Rancor and Lilith Troll, your guys will always be the biggest on the board.
And over time, obviously, you're just getting bigger.
And you draw more cards, which are more cards to feed the Troll, just more Duresses to get rid of their removal, things like that.
In addition, you came prepared for a little bit of Reanimator with a couple Deathrite Shaman and Torment Script. Not a lot, but a little.
Yeah, I mean, the Torment Script is specifically a nod to Reanimator, whereas the Deathrite Shamans have utility elsewhere as well. Deathrite Shaman is good, against aggressive decks. You'll frequently want ways to gain more life. I actually ended up not cybering it in against the one red deck I played in the tournament, which leads me to believe it's possible it just shouldn't be in the sideboard. But I didn't do the sort of long involved testing that I frequently do when I'm building a deck, but. Deathrite Shaman is also very good against blue-white-red, any of the decks with Snapcaster Mage, clearly, any deck that uses their graveyard as a resource.
Yeah. And last but not least, Sever the Bloodlines, another holdover from the Invitational.
Yep.
What are they targeting these days?
Sever's primarily a way to beat Olivia. It's really important to have ways to actually remove Olivia. The only way to kill Olivia main deck is either fighting with Garruk or killing with Tragic Slip. You can theoretically kill it with Tracker, but that just basically doesn't happen. So you really need a way to actually get Olivia off the board. This also has a lot of value in any sort of mid-range matchup. Any kind of deck that is going to be presenting a bunch of creatures on the board. I generally board in Sever. it's frequently better than Rancor in the aggressive matchups, and it's better than Stranglegeist in the mid-range matchups. You're bringing it in a lot of the time, even though it's not necessarily specifically aimed at those.
Okay, that makes total sense. So you obviously started the tournament off very well. What decks are you hoping to dodge over the next few rounds?
I don't want to play against Jund with Tragic Slip. I played a little bit against William Jensen during the player meeting and such, and I wasn't winning very much. His deck has both Tragic Slip and Olivia and all the basic Jund removal. The deck that Reduke actually posted about this week.
Right.
So that I think is a rough matchup, and Esper decks that actually have Terminus are pretty bad, but the Esper decks that have Planner Cleansing aren't nearly as bad because they can't actually deal with the regeneration as well.
All right, well, both you guys are in pretty close to the same bracket at this point, so good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
Thanks.